Coming up on episode 186, NVIDIA's AI recreates Pac-Man. Some news on D&D Live 2020, Sony patenting dynamic music in gaming, and much, much more on the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest geeky news of the week. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and with me are my wonderful co-hosts, as always, Courtney Bolin.
Hey, everybody.
And Josh York.
Actually, this is Josh's evil twin, Bosh York.
No, that would you'd have to have the goatee and the
I know,
mustache.
I should have. You know, give me another week and I could have had it, but whatever.
And it would be like Yash Jork. That's how that
Yash
works.
Jork.
Yash Jork.
That's right.
So, yeah, this week, a lot of AI topics came out in the news. Yeah, a lot of machine learning, specifically in gaming. I didn't have time to add this in the show notes, but right off the top, we do have last minute announcement on a game that we have discussed many times as to like what's going on with it. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered.
Oh, I was wondering if I was going to add it to the notes, but I didn't know.
Is going to be released August 27th, 2020.
Oh, okay.
And will feature online co-op.
Nice.
So you will not have to plug in a Game Boy Advance into your Switch in order to play multiplayer.
It's on PS4 as well, I saw.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Just because it was a GameCube exclusive back in the day. But it's fine, whatever. I don't actually really care enough to grumble. But yeah, so super pumped. It's actually coming. It's not just vaporware. So yeah,
Is it kind of like Final Fantasy Diablo or Phantasy Star Online or?
So it is. It's. I don't want to say it's isometric, but it's like isometric. And it's kind of like a dungeon crawl style.
I remember kind of playing it.
Where when you leave the village, you select an area to go to, and that area opens up like a map. The map is the same every time, so it's not procedurally generated. And you're doing like basic attacks, and like powered up attacks. You don't get like skills per se, like you would in Diablo or other games like that. And there's no like skill trees or anything like that. Magic is unlocked when you pick up Magicite, which drops from enemies that you then like have in your inventory.
Yep.
That you equip. And in order to use that, it's basically you have to like hold down the A button and you channel it while you move the targeting reticule to where you want to cast it. And then when you let go, it casts it in order to cast
like
more
a
powerful
grind
stuff.
Game? Is it
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting better crafting materials and better gear when you defeat bosses and stuff.
So it's kind of like Phantasy Star Online, I think. If
A little
I'm
bit, yeah.
remembering. Kind of the same type of idea.
Yeah.
Not as like intense as a Diablo or a Path of Exile, but
right.
kind
Yeah,
of
it's
a
just the
lighter
fact
side.
that there as far as I can remember, your character advancement pretty much comes from gear that you equip, and there's not like any passive skills or traits or active
There's no
skills.
classes or anything?
No.
Man, it'd be really cool if you could pick like different Final Fantasy classes.
What there is you pick like from a couple different races.
Yep.
And then you also pick like a job that your family has back in town. And I think that's mostly as far as like what stuff you can craft back in town. I don't think it has a direct combat
what I
thing
wish,
attached to it.
I mean, you can kind of say you get this with Final Fantasy 14, kind of, but I would like a more action-based, just like loot grind game that's Final Fantasy, where you get to pick, like, you could be a Dragoon, you could be a Black Mage, you could be Monk, you could be Thief, you could be Knight, you could be whatever, any of the dozens of different Final Fantasy classes that there are. I think that would be a cool game. That's just me. That's just my dream.
Your dream Final Fantasy game, if you were to make one of your
No,
own.
that's not my dream Final Fantasy game. My dream Final Fantasy game is just for the 7 remake to be complete and finished. But
I mean, we
just
got
like,
a bit to wait on that.
Just because recently sometimes I just want to play games where I don't have to think too hard. And it's just a little bit of grind that's not crazy, because sometimes I just like to turn my brain off and do the grind. And but I also like the customization of different classes and picking your abilities or skill trees or whatever, or grinding towards abilities and stuff, like whatever. But yeah, if I had to make like an action RPG loot game that was FF, that's just one of the ideas. But again, that's never happening.
That's
so yeah, like
it's nice to want.
the biggest differences are, so there's four tribes in the game. There's the Lilties, the Clavats, the Ukes, and the Selkies. So Lilties are basically I've seen them in other Final Fantasy games, but they're like little dwarf like things. They look like they have little like onion heads. They have high strength. Their focus attacks charge at normal speed. Their magic charges extra slowly. Clavats are like regular humans. Their focus attacks and magic charge at normal speed, and they have high defense. Ukes are bird people. They have high magic.
Oh.
Their focus attacks, which are basically power attacks, charge extra slowly. Their magic charges fast. And Selkies are like quote unquote barbarian type humans or whatever. They have average stats. Their focus attacks charge extra fast. Their magic charges at normal speed. And that's primarily the difference between them. Otherwise, yeah, it really boils down to just what your gear is. But even then, I mean, there's not a whole lot of variation.
So the combat is just like light attack, strong attack, magic?
It's yes. And normal attacks combo. So it's basically a 1-2-3 combo. Okay, so when I say combo, it's more like in Mario 64, after you keep pushing the button like Mario punch kick.
Well, that's kind of how Trials of Mana wasn't overly complicated with it. It was like 3 light attacks and a strong attack, or 4 light attacks and a strong attack. That's about as as complicated as Trials of Mana got.
Yeah,
but that was enough, honestly, to keep it fun for me.
There you go. So it's so fun.
So yeah, and I think that's
cool.
I think that's basically.
We'll see as more information comes out on that.
How
interested I am.
And I mean, it has been over a decade since I've played it, so I'm sure there's things that I'm forgetting as well.
Better bit. The GameCube game, I would think, over a decade.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah, 2020.
Maybe like 15 years.
Yeah, it's definitely it's closer to a decade and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I still have my copy readily accessible.
Nice.
So were we all not under quarantine, we could have done a streaming it even. Since I also have Game Boy Advances for everybody.
Yeah, you do.
That is such the weirdest thing. But yeah, so yeah, we've gone from like no information on it to it's coming in 3 months. Basically 3
August.
months. End of August.
End of August.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably just in time for me to finish Xenoblade. Maybe.
I'm gonna finish that game in like a week.
Well, I'm gonna try and only do progression on streams.
There's no way I gotta do that in a week.
And
No, but you're
you know,
gonna do the grinding off stream. But
I will do grinding and maybe side quests and stuff.
That's why I decided because there's so much side questing. I'm like, I'm not doing that all on stream. I'm gonna try to keep my stream of it to like as much story as I can.
Yeah.
Without, and if there's a spot, I don't know. It all depends like when you start and end your stream, right? So if you stop at a point where like, oh, I can go off and do some side quests and get right back into it when I start next time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the move, just because there's so much friggin' side quests in that game.
Oh yeah.
Like been reading articles about it. One of the articles I read on Kotaku was like, how to manage the 900,000 side quests.
Yes.
But let's talk about this game for a bit, wide as well, because it comes out tomorrow. It has some like side questing will be easier because there's like better quest tracking in this updated version, which for me, I think is going to make a huge difference, because that's one of the things that got me burned out was like, not only was it doing all the side quests, but like trying to find certain NPCs or certain monsters or certain like,
oh yeah, it is a game.
What monsters do I have to fight to get this item? Or like,
it is a game that required a strategy guide, if only to determine people's schedules, because like time of day
cycle and
time of day mattered. Like not even
because people actually have schedules.
Well, it's like like Stardew Valley, Courtney. It's
I know
people's
like
schedules mattered on the hour of the day in game, as well as the weather in game.
Yep.
So like certain people might not show up if it's raining, or at night, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now there's actually like little marks on your map of where people are, and it's like that's so much more manageable.
Yeah.
And for a person like me who's very obsessive about checking my map and where I am and like planning out my route, or in Massachusetts, I found this out. The state says you have to say route, not route. Route is the correct, apparently.
Whatever.
Okay. Sure.
I was working with Mass DOT last year for a while for a project for the school I was working at, and the word route came up a lot, and I kept saying route because that was my preference. And the guy kept like, no, whenever we like officially say it, we have to say route. It's like, okay. But anyway.
Whatever.
Digress. But managing side quests is going to be so much easier, I think.
Yes.
And that's going to help me a lot, for sure.
Yeah.
It's things just won't seem so overwhelming, I think, with the side questing. That's one of the things that, for me, was like, there's a lot of side quests, and that's fine. I can manage that if I just know where I'm going, and if I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
I can see my goal. I know where my goal is. And like in the old version I played, it's like you're kind of guessing.
Oh yeah.
Or a lot of stuff and trial and error. And I don't like that. I want to know definitively what I'm doing and planning out what I'm doing, which will be nice.
Yep. I already have my my build all set for Ricky that I looked up, planned out.
Ricky. Punch him off every cliff I can find.
It's the name of the game is more dots, 50 DKP minus. So, yeah. Also, in other news, so BlizzCon 2020 officially canceled. Again, I was kind of just waiting for the announcement. Since I never go anyways, but I think this is not surprising.
Nobody's surprised.
Yeah.
No, I think a lot of conventions right now are kind of waiting for the city just to shut them down.
Well, this is because BlizzCon's normally not until November.
Yeah, but some of them, I'm sure it's still far enough away that they can still cancel and.
Well, the thing is, the other thing was, even without the pandemic stuff, like Blizzard would have just had BlizzCon, and it would have been like one of their quote unquote down years when they didn't really have anything of note. But we've talked about this at length already. That's why it's not surprising that they opted not to and didn't wait until the last minute.
Which is unfortunate for them, because I think this is a year they need something of note, but that's me.
I mean,
Needing
I
something
think
and
they are
having
talking
something are two
about.
different things.
They are trying to talk about doing some sort of virtual event. But we'll
But we'll
see.
find out more of that. Yeah,
There hasn't really been a
goes.
whole lot of rumblings on anything coming, so yeah, I don't know. And then up next, so D&D Live 2020. So this is normally they do a big sort of mini convention. They have everybody come in. They announce like what the new adventure path is going to be, and they do they do 4 separate games all around a theme, all showcasing the new adventure path. Now,
so
of particular note, yes.
Yeah.
So last year it was all structured around Descent into Avernus. Now, so of note this year, so it's going to be a virtual event. They say that they're going to bring in some of the biggest names in D&D, but they're focusing on actors, WWE wrestlers, and comedians to benefit, and they're doing it in coinciding with Red Nose Day.
Okay, so kind of like when Mercer did the one shot for Stephen Colbert.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing to note here is absent from the list are kind of like what most folks would consider the biggest names in D&D. So like there's nobody from Adventure Zone, there's nobody from Critical Role, there's nobody from Acquisitions Incorporated, High Rollers. I'm trying to think of who else went in previous years. So I mean, of people that we've seen before and stuff, like Deborah Ann Wool, Matthew Lillard, and I think it's Xavier Woods, because he's been on Inc. before, and Felicia Day, who they also like threw into the quote unquote new to D&D group. So I think their marketing messaging is a little off. But
I don't think she does much tabletop, like role-playing games.
I mean, she's guested a bunch on Critical Role before.
A couple, a handful of times, right?
And they're also doing like the Guild plays D&D like right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been.
I just don't know.
She's been playing for a long time. I remember I was listening to her Between the Sheets episode. She's been playing for a long time.
Yeah. So I mean, also no Joe Manganiello or Satine Phoenix.
Yeah, but so that just makes me sad.
Yeah, it's kind of like it goes from, normally I would have been like, yeah, I'll watch these adventures and see people play because, it's very exciting to watch.
Yeah, it's fun to watch big name folks play. I really enjoyed last year's games. I really, really enjoyed them. And I really like these because it really does. The marketing around it is great because it really did make me want to play an Avernus game. And I really like having the different stories kind of running together.
Yeah. And because you get people that, they have D&D as part of their main portfolio of what they do. It puts people that gives a little more of a professional edge to it, I think.
Yeah.
That's it. I don't know if I'm very excited for this year's event then. I may just pop in for the product announcements and then kind of pop back out.
For me, I don't know. I found more and more that I struggle watching and listening to D&D podcasts. It's hard for me. I don't know what it is. Like I struggle to do that. But I think it's just interesting to have different people. Like I like different perspectives and different takes. For me, that's different important because, again, I'm a big thief and I like seeing other people's perspectives and stealing other people's ideas and kind of mixing it with my own point of view and my own kind of creativity. So I'm always interested to see different things and different people. And I think getting different people who might not be as in it is an interesting perspective and point of view and maybe a way to kind of get a different viewership and a different demographic.
They do have some big names in there. I mean, David Harbour, is it Karen Gillian?
Yeah, she's Doctor Who, and right, and she
no
Doctor.
Yes, she's from.
Redheaded.
Karen Gillian is from.
Is she in Doctor?
Woman.
She's Amy.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, she's Amy.
I just for whatever reason I was equating her with like some other sci-fi show.
Yeah, she's also Gamora's sister in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Not that one. Like I knew that, but some other sci-fi show that led to her in that. But the sci-fi show I was thinking of was Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what else I was thinking of, but
I mean, I'm probably gonna watch this year. I won't watch live. But I don't have the timing to do it live.
I think it will also depend on what the adventure path is going to be. There are rumors that it is Icewind Dale, which we all know how I feel about Forgotten Realms. So I enjoyed Descent into Avernus last year because although technically it's set in the Forgotten Realms and in the main D&D universe, it also incorporated some stuff that's outside of that area. But you know,
I mean, Forgotten Realms is their thing, so I wouldn't expect anything else.
It is.
That's
So
I am interested in Icewind Dale, but again, I'm interested in just about anything they put out. Because again, I like to steal shit from whatever.
Yeah, I remember when I watched it last year, I waited like a week so that everything could be on YouTube, and I just watched all 4 episodes right in a row. All 4 sessions right in a row.
I mean, you can do that on Twitch as well, because I don't believe D&D requires a subscription to view their VODs.
Oh, that's good to know.
I don't think they do.
I will take a look at it at least.
Yeah.
And
because then you would be able to do it as soon as the stream is over.
Yeah.
So
I might do that, but
oh, also no word if Sirenscape's going to be there, which that also makes me sad because they have been present in previous years to showcase their product, which we use and I'm a fan of. And they do all sorts of quirky shenanigans with the crowd. So the lineup
it'll be a different year. I think
the lineup is available at dnd.wizards.com/D&D Live 2020. Those are N's instead of ampersands in that URL. Actually,
what wrestlers are going to be there besides Xavier Woods?
Alexa Bliss, Tyler Breeze, Dio Madden, Ember Moon, and Xavier Woods.
Okay.
I'm actually pretty excited to see some divas play. That'll be cool.
They will contend with the quote Beefcake Destroyer, Jeremy Crawford.
I've kind of been getting into wrestling a little bit.
Just a little?
Yeah, just a little. To the extent that I'll watch a couple YouTube videos every day about it. Nothing. I'm not full on.
Okay.
It's moderately interesting to me.
I had a boyfriend in college who really liked it, and he kind of got me into it. I don't follow it by any means necessarily.
I mean, I was super into it during the Attitude Era. A lot of people were. It's late 90s, early 2000s, 97 to 2001 ish.
Mm-hmm. No, I can follow a lot of it though. So yeah.
There's just a few characters in it that I find pretty interesting, and some of the gimmicks they have going on are kind of cool.
Yeah.
A lot of it I could take it or leave it because some of it gets repetitive. It's a lot of the matches just look the same to me, but when there's a really interesting character or somebody who's really good at cutting promos, that's when it's really fun. Or there's some weird, interesting storyline that they. Just one second, I want to talk about this one they did a few months ago. It was John Cena and Way Bryant, and they did this really weird match that was surreal, and they kept jumping into different dimensions and realities.
What?
It's so weird. So Way Bryant does this he's this character who like hosts a kids show, like a Blue's Clues thing, but it like will flash frames of him in like a demonic mask and stuff, being like, join me, and then it'll flash back to this like bright, like, oh, we're in the fun house thing. And like he's like trying to like corrupt people to join his weird cult thing. And like I like really, this is like the type of weird storyline gimmick that I really like.
That is directly
and like
up your
so
alley.
Him and John Cena are going, and they did this like he kept fighting John Cena, but it was John Cena through different time periods in his career. So like camera would cut and John Cena would be dressed up in like a different like gimmick from his 20-year career.
Yeah.
And it was like basically John Cena having to like this existential crisis of facing himself.
It's like WWE Crisis of Infinite Cenas.
Basically. It was actually really interesting and really weird. But it was like, so it was super divisive among wrestling fans because some people were like, wow, this is really creative and different and weird, which was like, for me, who's kind of an outsider on this, I was like, yeah, that's really creative and different. A lot of people were like, what the heck even? Just what the heck even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, that's to the extent that I'm interested in wrestling.
I do not enjoy John Cena as a wrestler, but I think that he's an amazing, amazing human being.
Yeah, he seems to like try to do a lot of good stuff.
I don't like his persona. I don't like anything of his on stage, but I do really like him as a person because
I like his entrance music.
No.
All right. So before I get Courtney going any further, here's some of the other lineup for D&D Live. So for the comedians group, Thomas Middleditch, Brian Posehn, and Kevin Sussman. And that's going to be DM'd by who's DMing the comedians? Nobody, apparently. So that's weird. There is no DM listed. So, we covered the WWE group with Jeremy Crawford, who I think is also like, I think a couple of the big wigs at Wizards are wrestling fans. So Deborah Ann Wool is going to DM, and her group is are the actors, I think? Yes, including Amy Acker, Janina Gavankar, Matthew Lillard, and Sam Richardson. And then Chris Perkins is going to take basically the quote-unquote new players. So up top it says including Felicia Day, Brett Gelman, David Harbour, Brandon Routh.
Yes, he played Superman in like the 2005 Superman movie.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Martin Starr and apologies in advance if I butcher this name. Matreyi Ramakrishnan.
Yes,
quote, through adventures sure to demystify the hobby for all who tune in.
Kitty wants to be on podcast more than
oh boy.
over my face.
So yeah, it's going to be hosted by Anna Prosser, who is like one of the other sort of notable D&D notables. And it looks like they're going to have product announcements and deep dives and stuff at noon every day. So that's noon Pacific time, so 3 p.m. Eastern time.
I was going to say noon what time zone?
Since the majority of our audience is Eastern time. So 3 p.m. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, June 18th through 20th.
Icewind Dale makes a lot of sense because doing an Arctic, they haven't done I feel like they've done geographically a little bit of everything else. They haven't done an Arctic thing.
Maybe.
I haven't been watching for long enough to know if they have or not.
It's I mean, it was based on like some artwork that got released, where it showed just like a snowy, like icy cave or whatever, and a bunch of people standing around out front. So yeah, it's not a whole lot of information to go off of.
That's all it's based off of.
Yeah, it basically that's all it's based off of. Yeah,
based off a picture.
Could be anything.
Yeah, I know a lot of folks are hoping for, so here, I think with Psionics still in Unearthed Arcana, Dark Sun's out of the picture for the moment. I don't think we're going to see Dragonlance ever again.
I think they just did Avernus, and that's kind of close to Dark Sun. Like, thematically, in my mind, it is.
Kind of. I mean, Dark Sun's a bit of an odd duck, because it was...
When I think of Dark Sun, I think of very Mad Maxy, like...
Yes.
That's the image that comes to my mind. Dark
Sun
is
intended to be...
That was the feel that we got for a lot of Avernus, too.
Yeah. Well, it's intended to be post-apocalyptic as a result of lack of awareness for the environment. So that's why it was a very, very big topic in the 80s, that I think could work again today. But it's the fact that psionics is an integral part to that campaign setting. And so when they haven't gotten it out of Unearthed Arcana. Yeah, they'll have to do that first.
Because basically anything that's on UA is still technically playtest, right?
It is playtest, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I mean stuff like Dragonlance we'll never see again due to licensing issues. Sorry, I know I'm a big fan of Dragonlance, but yeah, realistically, we're not seeing that campaign setting come back. Not the least of which in that the principal writers of Dragonlance, from what I understand, are not on good terms with Wizards of the Coast. So that's why like Wizards shopped it out to a third party to do for a 3rd edition, and that was like the last we ever saw of it. But yeah, and then the weird stuff. So I think folks were hoping for like a Manual of the Planes type thing to coincide with a Planescape type adventure, which would be a way to do planar adventures for lower level characters.
What? Maybe.
There's also a thought of like another Ravenloft type thing, since Chris Perkins has been like kind of poking hints at like other sort of gloom and doom Strahd related type stuff.
I doubt they'll do another one of those. Maybe. What? I don't know. What's the story for Baldur's Gate 3? Does that connect to Avernus? Is that an Avernus thing?
Baldur's Gate 3 takes place after the events of Descent into Avernus.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, so depending on when that releases, that might be when we get, say, like potentially a Planescape Spelljammer type of setting or adventure.
When's that game supposed to come out?
It's got to be 2021, I think.
Okay.
Minimum.
Sometime 2021. I would have said, like, had there not been the whole pandemic stuff happening, I would have said maybe late this year.
I'm just thinking of if they would connect a book to that.
Maybe.
I love this cat.
even if it's just thematically.
Right. I'm not saying like the exact same adventure. I don't think they would do that. I'm just saying somehow maybe something parallel or something leading up to it or post, whatever.
Yeah. But
that would be cool.
I think a Fae book might be interesting. Because like we see a lot of like Shadowfell and Ravenloft and Domains of Dread and stuff like that. But we very rarely see anything that connects to the Feywild. And you can do some really weird stuff with Feywild.
Stuff in the Feywild.
Yeah, I'd like that. That's one
really
area
fun.
Where I don't have a lot of knowledge, and
fourth edition had a fantastic book that was Feywild oriented. That was just easily one of the best books, and it was like one of the last books to come out for it. I know, let's see. One of the games, it looks like the newbie game. There's 2 separate games. I see. Okay. So the quote-unquote new players. So Felicia Day, Brett Gelman, Matrey Ramakrishnan, and Martin Starr are going to be in one game, which is the Red Nose Day game with Chris Perkins.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another one, which is the Lost Odyssey Heroes game, which I think probably has to tie into Theros to some degree, I would imagine. And that's going to be David Harbour and Brandon Routh.
Just the 3 of them? 2
that's what it looks like so far. It may be that they're also still trying to line people up. I could see that being the case as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You
but yeah, that is.
What am I supposed to do?
That is the only indication we've got as far as any sort of content reveals, because they've been very careful to name things like the WWE game or the Red Nose Day game or Comedians Play D&D or whatever. So they're also calling it Roll with Advantage for 2020. I would have said perhaps this year Roll with Disadvantage. So but yeah, so that's happening June 18th through 20th. We'll see. Maybe they'll bring in some other folks, but they've already shot the promo for it, so.
Okay.
But yeah. All right, so now on to our main topic for the evening. Had a lot of different articles pop up over the past week or so related to machine learning and artificial intelligence in game development. So this is not necessarily like in games or for computer controlled characters or anything like that. This is specifically for either doing stuff with game development or using the concepts from game development to assist other tasks. So first up, NVIDIA has one called GameGAN, which is short for, so it's a game generative adversarial network. And what this means is that it is multiple machine learning systems that are all working off of each other and kind of against each other to compete with each other for learning. And what they did was it developed a game engine and recreated Pac-Man for the 40th anniversary of Pac-Man. By watching, I think it was 50,000 like hours worth or videos worth or something of gameplay of Pac-Man. So it wasn't given code to build off of.
That was going to be my thing. I hadn't gotten a chance to look at this thing.
It built its own code to simulate Pac-Man, and it did so almost flawlessly.
Yeah. That's like extremely impressive.
Yes. That's incredibly impressive. The idea, so for game applications, what this might mean is this type of technology could be used by game developers to have a network like this look at their own game and be able to, say, come up with new levels based on viewing gameplay footage and people playing the game. It would watch that, see how the mechanics worked and everything, and then be able to come up with new levels to assist level designers. So that now really you would have to create just like, base concepts or whatever, and then this engine can develop further stuff. And apologies to people that are also listeners of Daily Tech News Show, because they brought that up on that program. So I'm kind of just repeating the same concepts, but
hey, it's what's happened in the last week.
Yeah, but that was something that I had not considered with the use of this sort of program. a AI, this network, but being able to utilize this for other purposes. So, I mean, it's, if it can view, footage, for cleaning up footage or something like that, it can be used for, video art purposes or artistic purposes, for editing, and things like that.
I bet that would just make the entire process a lot easier.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's to get additional work out of, and be able to do extra stuff on top of this, or so simply
while the system is doing while the system is doing other stuff, they can be working on different things as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like it.
Now, granted, right now it's limited to Pac-Man, so it's still got a ways to go before it can assist with, say like Call of Duty Modern Warfare or something, or what was it, Epic's tech demo with millions of triangles.
Yeah.
Like right now it's limited to like 700 pixels wide. So, but the fact that it did a very almost 1-to-1 recreation of Pac-Man is big.
Just from looking at it, that's amazing.
And like and also it got all of the mechanics correct. So
it got the ghost patterns correct.
Yep. So ghost patterns. When you eat a power pellet, ghosts turn blue, and then you can eat them. The ghosts will run away from you when you eat a power pellet. They'll resume chasing you after that wears off. Fruit that pops out and runs, across the stage. So yeah. And the other big thing is, because this can generate systems that work with user input, because that's kind of crucial to Pac-Man. That has one of the other big applications of this is that it works with systems that accept user input, which great. Again is very complicated. So
yeah.
And Josh, I think you posted this in here. So NVIDIA also says an AI that's removing background noise in audio recordings.
Right. So like, you hear me hitting my desk right now?
Yep.
Or I'm sure people have been hearing Cat and family in the other room.
This is available right now. As a matter of fact, you can get this. You have to have the correct graphics card and you have to have the correct drivers.
Yeah.
But if you have a relatively modern system, then you might be all right. But yeah, it basically is just an AI that recognizes what the primary sound being inputted into your input is, and kind of mutes or cuts out other, like, you got kids screaming in the background, or you got a fan you were streaming the other day with your fans,
or motorcycles driving by, or whatever it may be,
loud truck, or sirens, whatever. But basically, it just kind of focuses in on the person talking into the mic, which is
that's really cool.
Or imagine you have, if you're an MMO player and you have people who like to have open mics instead of push to talk, and they're clacking away on their mechanical keyboards while you're, in a voice chat.
Hey.
Don't get me wrong. I love the satisfaction of a nice mechanical keyboard.
Satisfying.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I like mine. I don't want to hear into people's.
It's like when you're clicking your pen in a meeting,
right?
And anybody else is doing it. Is, oh my gosh, how can you be doing that?
Because they're not doing it right.
So here's my question, right? And this is more of a how many steps do we get from that stage, right? Where it's, I assume, there's a learning period where
no, it just works. It's like you download it, just works.
Okay, so they must have done extensive testing to go through the learning period already.
Yep.
Okay, so that answers one question.
Videos out now. Go on YouTube. You can watch people testing it out, like people having their kids screaming in the background, people like using air horns and stuff while they're trying to talk. Now, if you have really crazy background noise, you will notice a distortion in the primary voice.
Yeah,
and you will probably hear a muted version of that sound, but like your basic stuff, like a cooling
like a
cooling fan, or your PlayStation that sounds like a jet engine that's next to your
or say
microphone.
a thunderstorm.
Yes, a thunderstorm.
Okay, so long as it doesn't knock out the internet.
So
it works
follow-up
really,
question
really nicely.
Is how many stages from this do we get to where the AI, where say if multiple people have this AI installed on say a video chat, and the AI is able to take one person's input, like local input, and sort of transmit compressed data that has information related to then reconstruct it on the sort of listener's end in such a way that you get essentially like a flawless transmission without losing stuff. I don't know necessarily if that's possible. But
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand what you mean.
So basically, at what point can we have an AI that goes from what NVIDIA has out now to an AI that can fix, say, a friend of the podcast and cast of Jamora, Sean Robbins' Discord?
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's also more like internet compression.
That's more of a connection stuff issue sometimes.
But what I'm thinking is if it can sort of interpret what's being put in and then repackage it in a compressed format that's readable by, the same AI system or whatever.
What's happening is, though, that's getting cut in the transmission process anyway. So you're losing that in the transmission. You're not losing that when he speaks into it. It's after it goes through the computer, and now it's whatever, whether it's going through the air or through a wire. For him, it's probably through the air.
Yeah,
that's where it's getting cut up and messed up.
All right, quantum computing it is. So yeah, and then last up, so this was reported by Tech Radar. So Sony has a patent out to use machine learning to adapt video game soundtracks to specific moments, characters, and anticipated player emotions at certain points in a game. So the idea about this is composers for music would create like a bass track. Mm-hmm. So they would essentially create like one track that's supposed to be emblematic of like the score for a game. And then you would use this AI and it would listen to that track. And then what it would do is, again, it kind of sort of like the game GAN is that it would then adapt that track to certain inputs that would be related to moments in the game. So
could this be like going from like bass music to like fight music, and then
sort of what they talk about is that like if you put in parameters, so perhaps like parameters were engaged so that it's the AI detects that when you enter combat, that it would take that track and it would like up the tempo and add certain instruments to give it a more like dramatic, upbeat feel. Whereas if you are trying to sneak around and act stealthy, or it's like a quiet, or if you want like a quiet atmosphere, it would take those inputs and then it would sort of turn down the volume of the music and maybe soften it out a little bit, maybe slow down the tempo.
I think doesn't this already exist to some extent in a lot of games?
So the idea being that so the way it would work right now,
to the extent that it's like generated on the spot, like music is created on the spot, but I think
I mean the way you would do it is essentially they're doing it manually right now. So like you're going in and you're having composers and musicians like record all of this music, and then you're setting certain parameters for when track A should be played versus track B. This would be you are creating track A, and then this machine learning system is taking track A and morphing it in reaction to certain parameters.
Yeah, I think what I'm talking about is similar.
Happens, then Y is played.
There's track A, and there's different layers that would go in track A depending on the situation. So there might be like A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and each one of those is, this is the quiet sneaking part of track A. This is the up-tempo part of track A.
Yeah.
I think that somewhat exists already, but it's interesting to just be like on the spot.
It's interesting that AI is doing it on the spot.
That also feels like it would take up a lot of computing power.
Yeah. So that's why unclear. It was not listed specifically for a particular system. So this might be something that like Sony could be looking in development for PS5, could be looking at something down the line that they want to start working on now. But the other idea is for anticipating how a player feels at a given moment in the game and adapting the music to that. And that would be sort of the system looking at player behavior in the game at certain moments. And then extrapolating an average, saying like most people feel this way at this point in the game,
so
or exhibit these behaviors.
100,000 people who've played through this, whatever.
And this is the most common expression during this time.
Yeah. I was saying like, how would you figure that out? But I guess you would just figure it out by what the player inputs into the game. But this would only work in more, in my opinion, more open, free roaming type games.
So to pull the information out of the article. So in the patent, the engineers describe how they plan to use machine learning to analyze how different, quote, musical components like rhythm, melody, and harmony map to specific emotions, and then create different emotional variants to musical scores that will trigger specific feelings in games as they play, which, I mean, is basically what composers and musicians do right now. But it will have its composers create musical motifs that map to a specific character, in-game activity, locations, or even the player's, quote, personality. Then these motifs will be coded to play based on Sony's data on what the player is feeling or should be feeling in a given moment. So they give an example, like for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, they could take the overworld music, reduce the tempo and percussion for calmer ambience. If the player has stopped moving for a while, up the tension if they've locked onto a target, or add some soulful violin if a beloved character appears. So this would be like, rather than...
It sounds like this stuff has to get done through brainwaves of players, not through their...
No, because you're anticipating when something happens in the game, this is what we want you to feel.
Yes.
Not what you are feeling. So it's almost... It's kind of what a composer does already. That's like how music is composed, right? So like you get the scene and like, this is what we want you to compose for. And then the composer, with their vast knowledge of how music works and what types of tempos and whatnot inspire different feelings. Like that's how a lot of music's composed.
So it does go further to detail this. Specific emotions that it would try to evoke include tension, power, joy, wonder, tenderness, transcendence, peacefulness, nostalgia, sadness, sensuality, and fear. They plan to analyze... Yes. They plan to analyze tons of popular music in order to turn emotion-inducing music into a science. Their machine learning system will convert music into electronic scores, match the scores up with reviews from critics and fans, then timestamp specific stretches of music that correspond with specific emotions. So that's how they'll build up their sort of machine's database to then pull that sort of information from. Sony then plans to experiment with mapping emotions to scenarios during a stressful moment rather than predictably play tense music. They claimed that an undercurrent of sensuality could have a better and more interesting effect on your experience.
They must have been playing a lot of Mass Effect.
It depends if it makes sense or not.
I don't know. I feel like this is something that I don't know. Like, a more interesting effect? I mean, sure. I don't know if it would have the intended one, because typically we've seen that used to great effect for comedic relief in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Thor Ragnarok, Deadpool, where they kind of upended tense moments with unanticipated music, we'll say, or just a lack of music, and it just creates a tonal shift. That said, I mean, I think this would make a great series for Sony to do, as like, you know, what happens if a boss fight pops up and you basically have the equivalent of like Careless Whisper.
But that wouldn't happen, right? That's the whole point.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the AI, but it has to learn those things first.
Well, that's an example of this an undercurrent of sensuality might make a better and more interesting experience than tension during a stressful moment. So basically, my hope is that Sony posts these experiments maybe like when the product has been launched, and is out.
Can see where it was, so we can see the bloopers almost.
Yes, I think this would be a great thing to see, sort of times when it went wrong, because I think that would make a really hilarious series. I don't know if Sony will do it, because I don't know if they have a sense of humor like that.
I mean, they barely play well with others, so
I don't know. That I don't know if many tech companies have that level of sense of humor.
Number one, you don't have to play well with others.
I mean,
I'm just not going there, because to each their own. But they don't play well with others.
Not first or last.
I mean, you say that, but then that also makes publishers unhappy. So yeah. So that's just most of that information was pulled from that Tech Radar article. So definitely really interesting. It made me think of, so this was like back in high school, this idea of essentially like an AI doing tabletop RPGs. And so like an AI, and also combining it with VR, but like essentially it would be generating, you know, like a VR Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, White Wolf experience or whatever on the fly.
Music thing makes me think of is just getting closer to Ready Player One.
Kind of.
Like that's where I imagine, like, what the heck what's the word I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
What is it when a dungeon is made on the fly?
Procedurally generated.
Procedurally generated music, essentially.
Yes. Yeah.
Would work very well in a VR situation. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's also, I mean, that has applications well outside of gaming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, definitely like for movie scores and stuff like that.
Yes and no. I think you're walking on a slippery slope with that one, because then is that count as art if an AI does it?
That is a huge topic of discussion right now.
For debate.
8-bit philosophy. That's our new podcast.
Oh boy. That is getting into.
You guys can do that for the next 3 weeks.
Because so this came up recently, actually, in the discussion of, does the AI get credit for it, or does the creator of the AI get credit for the art that was made by the AI? Because there are examples of like music samples or even visual art samples and everything. So yeah,
I don't have the answer to that.
I do, but I'm not getting into it.
Basically, the general consensus seems to be that the developer of the AI gets credit for it, for having
I would say no, they don't.
developed the AI. Because these are still, we'll say, non-sentient machines.
And I say, unless the AI were at a point that it's sentient, then no, it does not get credit.
Yeah.
I would say
that's a weird one, because the developer didn't make the music; they made the AI.
I would
Correct.
personally,
that is a weird one.
This person gets it because they use this platform. Like through, yeah.
It's definitely a weird case.
Yeah.
But these are questions that we're going to see more and more of going
These
forward.
Are questions that we're going to have to ask.
Yep. Well, I mean, they're already being asked. We're going to have to address them going
we
forward.
need answers for. Sorry, words.
Yeah.
I have them.
So
that's just become my new catchphrase. I've just accepted this.
All right. So that is going to wrap up the news for this week. So why don't we talk about what's going on with 8-Bit Adventures?
Yeah.
All right. So, as you all know, since we're streaming on Thursday, there's a temporary schedule up right now, as my wife and I are taking basically delivery classes for the next 4 weeks. So 8-Bit Adventures Plays is shifting to Tuesdays. It's not Lamaze. So that's the best I can describe it.
Sure.
8-Bit Adventures Plays will be on Tuesdays. 8-Bit Adventures Podcast will be on Thursdays. Everything else is unchanged. So Jamora is still every other Friday. Stuff on Saturday is not changed. Also, well, and Courtney won't be here for the next 3 podcast stuff because of her work schedule change. So
yes.
If we can get last minute guests, Josh and I will try and get some guests on here. No promises. So don't hold out hope, folks.
Yeah.
But I can be 2 people. I can be 2 people now.
yeah, there we go. There we go. Personality.
Yeah.
Also, I have decided to set a stream goal. So now, because, again, things are just starting to open back up. I know a lot of folks are still not working or temporarily out of a job or whatever, but, so no pressure. But stream goal is hit 15 subs. So not only does that unlock a new emote slot or whatever, but I will do, since I have rediscovered it on the internet, a Robot Unicorn Attack edition of 8-Bit Adventures Plays. Where all I will play for that stream is Robot Unicorn Attack.
Jeez.
Yes.
Because it
Speaking
is
of games that
one of the best games ever made.
I heard a rumor that the Scott Pilgrim game might come back.
No.
I heard something about...
Do not get my hopes up.
I heard something, I don't know what it... I heard something about Scott Pilgrim. That's all I really know. I heard something. I saw something.
So,
yeah.
So right now we are a third of the way there. So, if we can get ourselves up to 15 subs, we will have glorious Robot Unicorn Mayhem to Erasures always. Unless you all want the heavy metal edition, in which case it's to Blind Guardian's Battlefield.
That would be my choice.
They're both excellent tracks. On the comics and art front, got a new comic this week, 329 Energy Drain. And we are 24 out of 100 comic strips colored for the comic book. So my goal was to try and do at least one a day. Life happened. So we'll see. I have no promises and no timetable on when that will be finished, as even if I do one a day, that still puts it at like 2 months out. So we'll see. And that, point of order. So the plan for this week is a Tales of Jamora stream.
Yeah.
We are supposed to have bad weather, and that does not bode well for some of the folks in our group. If it's the case where we are having Discord issues and we can't really continue, the backup plan is there will be basically the first Xenoblade Chronicles stream tomorrow, this Friday. So Just so that folks are aware, we're going to try and get that stuff figured out before 7 p.m. tomorrow, so that way we can make a decision and something will start at 7. But the hope is that we will be able to play D&D. So
I brought my dice all the way to Maine, guys.
Yes, good, just in case. Yeah.
Yes, I brought dice. I didn't
bring
anything to take notes with.
We were trying to.
That's good to know, because I thought we weren't playing. I thought that was the call. My bad.
No, that was, we were trying to come up with a backup plan, and just in case we were having difficulties and issues and stuff. And just there was going to be no way that I could come up with something sort of last minute.
Well, you don't have like a bunch of one shots just in your back pocket for a rainy day? What are you kind of DM are you?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
I legit thought that there were like one shot, just like single adventures just out there.
I mean, there are. I don't have them.
Yeah, but you still have to be familiar with it, and like you have to read through it and kind of know.
Yeah.
No,
it's not as simple as like, let's go.
Yeah.
And then it's also like you also need to, as the DM, you then have to like get characters from everybody and make sure like that it's all going to work, to work out any issues that certain characters might have with the material or something. So there's still a lot of prep work that goes into setting up a one shot, which is why often you will get pre-generated characters. So that you will be given a character. Like, you will not come up with a character.
Hand them out. This is who you play, and this is who you're playing.
This is who you are.
Like,
so yeah, and
deal them out like cards.
With the amount of stuff that I had to do over the past 2 days, there wasn't really a lot of time to prep for that. So,
no, that's fair.
All right, and with that, it's time for Quest Log. Quest Log is where we talk about basically what we have been putting in our little geeky journals over the past week, what we've been doing, what we've been playing, what we have been consuming. So
yes, I think that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, Courtney,
I'll write a list of what I've been eating all week. All right,
Courtney, why don't you go first, since it was your birthday this week?
It totally was. Yeah, Wednesday was my birthday, yesterday. So I didn't get as much like gaming and stuff, and now today I'm at my cousin's for the weekend, following all precautions needed. But the one thing that I did do this week is I binged most of Avatar in like 2 days.
That's impressive. That's a lot of Avatar.
The only reason why I didn't finish it is because I didn't watch much yesterday.
How many seasons
because
are
I was
there?
at my mother's for my birthday. There's 3. There is 61 episodes in total.
That's not that bad.
Yeah. No. I started it like halfway through Monday night. So, and when I got home Monday. So there was Monday night, Tuesday night after work, and then a little bit last night, because I had to wake up a little earlier and get up here. But yeah, I have 9 episodes left. And oh man, guys. Oh man, it's good. I like it.
Apparently it's good, I hear. I've never watched it myself, but everybody friggin' loves it.
Oh, you would enjoy it.
I probably would. Here's the thing. I've always had it in my head that like, this is a little dumb kid show. I'm not watching this.
It is.
I know it's not that. I know it has a lot of deep themes, and like, I know that. I just have never gotten myself. Probably now's the time to do it.
Yep.
Well, and I think that there's a few things that I've really liked about it. One, it is very easily consumable. Again, it's only 61 episodes, and the episodes were on TV, so they have commercial breaks, so they're like 25 minutes.
I was going to say probably about 24-minute episodes.
Yeah,
something right around there. So they're short, and the things that there's like 3 filler episodes that I've come across, and I'm considering them filler episodes because there's less than like less than 5 minutes of, oh, like the very beginning and the very end is, oh, what could we have done? And that couldn't have been glossed over with, yeah, you did X for 3 days. But I like the filler episodes because they split it up a little bit, and it does little bits of like lore dumps during filler episodes. So that's just, and I consider it a filler episode because it's not progressing the main storyline. But I really like it. I really, really like it. I'm going to finish it this weekend.
Yeah, but we are currently working through book 2 right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So the Earth Kingdom.
Yep.
But yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender easily was one of the best shows on television. Certainly one of the, if not the best show on Nickelodeon at the time. But and just an example of the amount of detail that went into the martial arts aspect to it was great.
Yeah.
And I think it shows like a great way to do martial arts without going over the top into Dragon Ball Z style.
What?
And as somebody,
Nani?
I get really bored during really long fight scenes.
I agree.
I get really, really bored during them.
Fight scenes, short, well choreographed scenes are so much better.
Yes,
I'll say this. Don't get me wrong. I love me some DBZ. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the fights are dragged out way too long, and it eventually gets to the point where they're just doing this on the screen for like.
It also, and because it has a sort of cohesive storyline that has an endpoint, at least for this series, it avoids the issue that Dragon Ball has, where it's just constant, sort of like D&D, constant power progression until it reaches.
It's still going. Going today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Taranda's owls in Heroes of the Storm. If you don't hit anything, they're still going to this day. But yeah, no, it's great. It is the basis for Way of the Four Elements monks in D&D, which don't do players who want to be an avatar justice. And but a lot of the background thought and a lot of the world building that went into that show is really great.
It's funny because when I was in my when I was an undergrad in college, it was still coming out, or maybe it had almost finished, but there was I watched literally less than 5 episodes, and I got to the library and I was like, oh, I've seen this episode. So it was kind of fun, being oh wait, okay, this is the little stretch of it that I've watched.
You gotta watch Korra, and then after that,
I was gonna say that's my next one. Is I do have.
Also, I hear great, but most people say Last Airbender's better. Not to say that Korra's bad, to just say they the original better.
I have watched more of Korra than I did of Last Airbender. That being said, I still watched probably less than 10 episodes of Korra as well. But yeah. I don't know. I'm also kind of sad because BioShock was delayed a day. It was supposed to come out today on Switch. I'm a little sad.
Now it's competing with Xenoblade.
I got to my cousin.
Don't be sad. That game came out 15 years ago.
No, but I got to my cousin.
It's out right now.
It's not out on Switch.
I know.
Yeah,
I wanted to be able to play it tonight.
It's also such a weird
thing. Is I wanted to be able to play it tonight.
That's a game where I never expected it to come out on Switch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of that's what I've been up to though. Just have my birthday and bought myself some more dice for my birthday and bought myself some more pins for my birthday.
Of course, Courtney, this is an intervention. Me and Sean set this up.
No.
Knock, knock, knock. Courtney, let us in. This is an intervention.
No. I'm not buying crack with it.
Where's a clock? And just hold it up. It's time to stop. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. So you've been watching some Avatar, Sean.
Yeah, I'll go next because I don't really. I already talked about Avatar and my thoughts on it, and I don't really have much besides that. I've still just been playing Animal Crossing and Path of Exile. I am up to level 80 in the new league for Path of Exile out of 100, so now becomes the grind, the end game grind.
Nice.
It's very satisfying though because as if I pick basically the right power level for my maps is basically the goal is to run around and one-shot everything with like one-shot entire waves of enemies with my main skill just to get to the boss, and then the boss is a more interesting fight usually. That said, I mean there's things that I don't enjoy about Path of Exile. There's this whole sort of temple thing. So you have these NPCs where they can send you on missions, and some of them are like there's one where you go and you defeat like rare enemies to capture them that are all beasts, and then the idea is that you use your captured beasts to fight them, and then you build them, like you use them to build gear or whatever. There's another one where he gives you resources to then like progress through the mines to do what are known as delves, which basically let you progress deeper and deeper to get better resources and stuff. So there's one in which she's an explorer. This NPC is an explorer, and when you find her, she opens up basically like a time portal, and you go back in time to this sort of temple, and you are immediately assaulted on all directions by just like waves of enemies that will probably one-shot you. So your goal is to like try and take out as many enemies as you can because you have like 10 seconds of not killing an enemy before you get pulled back to modern time. And the idea is the more of these rooms that you find, the more it opens up. And in this temple, and when you unlock like 12 rooms or something, or when you do 12 of these incursions, you then warp to the temple, and all of the rooms that you've done incursions in are the rooms that are unlocked in the temple, and your goal is to like go from the bottom all the way to the top.
Okay.
But it's just ludicrous amounts of enemies that will deal absurd amounts of damage. More so than like typical Path of Exile nonsense. So I've just been avoiding that.
Is that like playing keep away from these other guys that are trying to kill you, or?
For me, yes. For me, okay. It is a game in which, like, imagine having to play hit and run tactics in Diablo, as opposed to like, you know, being able to soak damage, and like, you know, use abilities to.
That's pretty standard though. That's how high level Diablo is. Like, okay, you get to the point that enemies essentially one shot you no matter what. It's about using your abilities to avoid. So it becomes important to have abilities that can like, either teleport you or move you quickly out of the way, or like get you out of danger. Like that becomes like your most important abilities is stuff that gets you out of danger.
Yes.
As well as having a really important main damaging ability that's usually some type of AoE or some type of a combo. But that's usually what high level Diablo or those type of games usually becomes.
Yeah. What I like a lot more is there's also what's known as the Aspirants Plaza. So this is you do these tests, and what these tests are they have traps all over this area, and it's basically all just avoiding, like learning the patterns of stuff. So it'll be like, you know, buzzsaws on the floor, and they just move on a set pattern, and you move the patterns, and you learn the patterns that they act in, and you just move around them. So it's more like a puzzle, and that appeals to me a lot more. So like in later ones, they add like these weird totems that will, you know, they might slow you down, so that you have a more difficult time trying to pass through. There's one where it deals damage to you if you use a movement-related ability. There's one in which it just does a fire nova. So they strategically place those. So your goal is also like remove the totems, which cause them to go offline for a couple of seconds. Make your way through the area in time for them to pop back up. And so you have to get through all these areas to like unlock switches and stuff to open locked doors and make your way through. Mm-hmm. I like that a lot more because it's a little bit more thinking as opposed to just like panicking and trying to fire off as many tornado shots as possible before running away.
Just panic.
As opposed to fill the room with arrows and then run away. Repeat until enemies are dead.
Yeah.
That's how high level ARPG games, man. That's
pretty much. Pretty much. The good news is that I don't have to do that piece of content. The drawback is, of course, is that I have this number that's just ticking higher and higher because every time you do maps, it will give you like bonus missions for these particular NPCs. And so I seem to just be racking up bonus missions for this NPC instead of like the other ones that I actually want to do. So it's going to get to a point where it's just like, well, I guess I just better clear that out. And then I'll get stuff for somebody else. But
yeah.
And then Animal Crossing, turnips this week. My sell prices are abysmal. I have the dreaded decreasing turnip price path. So this means that on Monday, my prices are still below my buy price, and they just went downhill from there over the course of the week.
Is that a bear market?
Yes. So I bought turnips for 98 bells a stack. So 98 bells for 98 bells per turnip, and they come in stacks of 10 turnips. So it's 980 a stack. And like Monday morning, it had dropped down to like 84 was the sell price, and it has just plummeted since then. So there are a couple different there's a couple different like patterns, that it can follow. The top 4 being decreasing, which is the worst one. Then there's small spike.
Sorry, there's a moth.
Oh. So there's a small spike, large spike, which is basically like it'll go down until about Thursday, and then it bumps back up. And so like a small spike, it might bump up to like 150, 200. Large spike, it can bump up as high as 600. And then it'll fall back down on like Saturday. And then there's fluctuating, in which it's random. Nobody knows. So yeah, unfortunately, as much as I would love to host people again so that they could sell turnips on my island, ain't nobody want to come here. We got nothing. I have found other islands in which to sell my stuff, so I'm good. But yeah.
So wait, are you always locked in on that descending, or does it like
changes weekly, and it's based on what your pattern was the previous week, and what your buy price was. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple factors that go into it. So for example, this means that like, I bought them for my price, and I can just find someplace else to sell them who has better prices, and go visit somebody else.
I think that at least 3 posts a day on Facebook from my friends about turnip prices.
Yep. There's also, I didn't have to use it this week, but
make me want to get Animal Crossing.
There is a website called Turnip Exchange, where people can post their island, and what that website will do is it'll create queues, and that you join the queue, and then when your turn comes up, you then get the code to go to somebody's island. So
can you only host one person on your island at a time?
You may host up to, I think, 7 other people at a time.
However, so they can have 7 people at a time in these, if you have like a short queue.
However, it's complicated because if somebody is trying to enter the island or exit the island, having a menu or dialogue box open prevents them from doing so. So it becomes pretty chaotic if you get that many people. So usually it's limited to like 2 or 3 at a time.
Okay.
So, but yeah. And then I'm just waiting for the next month to roll over so that I can catch all sorts of new stuff. I believe sharks start appearing.
This month, right?
Sharks start appearing next month, so that's very exciting. So I can catch them. Let's see.
It's not Shark Week, it's Shark Month.
Well, it's Shark Summer. Sharks start appearing in June, and they continue through the rest of the summer. So, so I'm excited about that. So that's it for me. Josh, I see you have added another game to your stream schedule.
Yes. Well, yeah. Okay. So, I beat Jedi Fallen Order on Monday.
Cool.
Nice.
So yeah, it wasn't a terribly long game, honestly. But that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you don't want to play a game for 50, 60 hours. Sometimes you play Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah. Sometimes we play Skyrim.
Yeah, or you play Persona 5, which is like a 100-hour game or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, Star Wars / Dark Souls Light is a fair description of that game. It was enjoyable. The difficulty was at a good level for me to get frustrated and ragey enough without wanting to just give up and throw my controller and be like, I'm over it, like I did when I played Dark Souls in 2011 or 2012 or whenever it was.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun. Story was interesting. Definitely open for a sequel. I read rumors that it'd be cool to have Ahsoka in the sequel because this takes place in a period of time where there's not a lot of info on what she was out there doing.
Yep.
So that would be cool. If she was in it, I'd be hyped. But to be able to play as her would be really cool. But I doubt that. I think it'll just stick with Cal, which is fine. Who's the actor? Something Callahan. He plays Joker on Gotham. I think he's in Shameless. I don't know. Ginger guy.
That voiced Cal?
Literally acted him. His model is him.
Oh, okay.
They did that for a lot of the characters. They just used the actual actor's literal model, like faces and.
Cameron Monaghan.
Did I say Callahan? Maybe I said Monaghan.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. The resemblance. He basically plays Cal.
It is just. He
looks just like him.
Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed the game a lot. There was really nice exploration in the game, like I said, some Metroidvania type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When I did a lot of off stream, like getting collectibles and secrets and stuff, just like getting hearts in Zelda, getting my HP up and getting my magic, my force higher, that type of thing. And I came across whole new areas and levels that I hadn't found before. And it was fun exploring those areas and figuring a way out around them and fighting enemies as you go through. So the game was a lot of fun. I was surprised EA made a good single player game with no microtransactions or anything weird. I really wish they would have done Star Wars 1313. That was supposed to be the Boba Fett game that they just nixed a few years ago.
Yep.
Because that basically would have been this game, but as a bounty hunter, essentially, which would have been cool. Maybe someday, we'll see. But yeah, I would recommend that game. It's a fun game. Run it on PC if your PC can swing it. Avoid load times and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I was looking for something very short to play this week because Xenoblade comes out tomorrow. So I picked up Streets of Rage 4, which I've really been interested in since I heard about it, and I just never had. So
is it like a Street Fighter type of game, or
no?
It's
a beat 'em up.
Yeah, side-scrolling
beat 'em up.
Arcade.
River City Girls.
Okay.
Yeah, if you saw us play River City Girls, harkens back to the old school. You just walk into the right, punching people. That's this game, but all hand drawn. It's kind of my ideal art style. It's pretty close. It's like one. I have a few different ideal art styles, but this is one of them. Looks like a modern Saturday morning cartoon. Honestly, I think that's what it looks like.
Oh, nice.
So there's 4. It starts off with 4 different characters you can choose from, and I don't know. It's like these 2 twins are trying to control the city through sound waves or something. It's a totally cheesy, dumb premise.
Of course, it has to be.
Beautiful.
So this is your excuse to run through the city beating up all the thugs and delinquents, which is good enough excuse for me. So
River City Girls was, we can't find our boyfriends. We're going to beat up everybody in the city to find them.
Double Dragon was basically, you stole my girlfriend. We're going to beat up everybody in the city to get her back. That was essentially all those old NES, Sega,
Yep.
beat 'em ups. That was the 80s. That was 80s, early 90s. That was the time, So, I mean, it's nice to just have a kind of a dumb game, right? I am sure Devil May Cry 5 is the perfect example of video games being a video game. So sometimes you just want a video game being a video game, which is this game.
Yep.
The controls, I mean, it feels good. Like, the game feels really nice. Good sound, good effects when you're punching and hitting and kicking. Each character plays uniquely. I picked the the female character that was like really like nimble and quick, just because I like that quicker paced action. So she's the only character I've played so far that can actually like run across the screen when you dash. Everyone's walk slowly, so I like that. A lot of her moves is like jumping around, and she's like punching really quick. And there's like one character that's just big and slow. So like you have options for your play style, and they all some people focus more on kicks, some are more punches, some are more jumpy, depending on who you go through. I didn't beat it on stream on Tuesday. I got to the last boss and got to like 5% health. I got so darn close. But then it was getting late, so I said, I caught it. And I beat it today off stream. I was going to stream it today, but I got confused with scheduling with this.
Yep.
I forgot. Not a big deal. It happens. Sometimes I get stuff mixed up in my head like that. So I was like, whatever. Xenoblade comes out tomorrow, no big deal. I'm not going to play this on stream again for a while. So I beat it with the character I've been playing, and I started another playthrough with another character today, just for funsies, because there's a bunch of secret characters to unlock. No big spoilers, because it was announced. Like, you can unlock the pixel characters from the old Streets of Rage game from the Sega Genesis. Oh. I'll never play them because I don't like those pixel graphics. I really like the hand-drawn. Yep. That's me. I'm not a big pixel person. That's cool. But a lot of people are super into that because a lot of people have a big connection with this game from their childhood. I don't as much. I remember it. I remember playing the old Streets of Rage, but I don't remember like much about it. I just remember, beat them up. They all kind of blended together because they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a fair amount of content. There's like a boss rush mode. There's a lot of different levels of difficulty, and there's challenges and stuff too for like once you've beat story mode. So there's stuff to do in it, and I'm interested in playing it just because it's something I can do while like I've got maybe a stream on watching somebody on my other screen, and I can be playing this, and it doesn't take too much like brain power and concentration if I'm playing on normal mode to like be into it. If I put on a harder mode and actually tried to get good, because I watched some videos of people playing who were like really good at getting combos off and stuff, and like these crazy, like, I don't know how the heck are you getting these super long combo chains, but it's a fun game. It does have online 2-player, and it may have it definitely has couch co-op. I don't know if it has 2 or more, but it's a fun game. I think it'd be fun. It'd be a fun co-op game for sure. I played it on my own, but it'd be cool to play with another person. But good game. It's fun. So a couple things. I wish there was a dodge roll button. I really wish there was a dodge roll button. Just because, again, I'm probably not as good, but there's just situations like where I feel like I'm stuck and I can't avoid certain things that are coming at you.
Yeah.
So like, and I've just played so many games recently where there is some type of dodge or a parry or something to get out of danger. So that's just maybe me being spoiled and not understanding how to use the vertical space in beat 'em ups as well. And I always wish there were like RPG elements. So
of course,
I wish you could like level up characters and like there were special moves. Like River City Girls had that, right?
Yep.
Where you could like buy moves and level up and stuff like that. So
yep.
Again, I'm just pitching out loud my dream beat 'em up game where it's Street 4, but it's like has like leveling up and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it had like fighting game input special moves. Like it had like like forward or down forward Hadouken or stuff like that.
Cool.
But again, it's a fun game. It's got a lot of replayability. So and tomorrow will be Xenoblade at some point.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe I'll squeeze in a quick stream for D&D. We'll see. It depends on my haircut and stuff I got scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. Yeah. If not, it'll be over the weekend for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Fun.
Well, as always, if you want to see more content from 8-Bit Adventures, be sure to check out 8-bitadventures.com. If you want to help support that content, you can either become a patron at patreon.com/8bitadventures. Big shout out and thank you to all of our current patrons. Or you can sub to this channel. As a reminder, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription each month if you have Amazon Prime. So if you would please consider using that to help support this channel so that we can get our tasty Robot Unicorn Attack stream. Because I've been playing that on my own because I actually enjoy playing that game. So I'm excited. So 10 more subs. And then we go.
We can do it.
Our opening theme is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. You can find Courtney on Twitter at cbolin91. You can find Josh here on Twitch at twitch.tv/damnanimal. And you can find me everywhere at 8-Bit Adventures. So, as always, have fun, everyone. Happy gaming. And enjoy your pie cake.
Bye, everybody. I will see you guys in a few weeks.